Central Florida's Chief Meteorologist Tom Terry, only on Channel 9 Eyewitness News.
Next thing you know, it sounded like an earthquake, almost just saw a rumble out front.
We saw homes that were surrounded by water. We saw homes that had water inside of them.
But if you look up here, you can see the dunes. There's really no sign that they have been eaten away, and that is a good thing.
We've made available an unprecedented number of assets to deal with this crisis.
It is now 4 o'clock. Hopefully, as best as could be, you've made it through this all right. Good afternoon. I'm Greg Warmoth.
And I'm Darlene Jones. Right now, we're getting a better look at some of the damage from Hurricane Milton and the aftermath. Drone 9 has been flying all over Central Florida. Take a look at this. You can see streets submerged in water as people kind of wade through, trying to make their way through different neighborhoods. This is the Wolf Branch Estates neighborhood in the Sorrento area of Lake County.
Yeah, what a mess. And another big problem. Strong winds knocked down trees in every county, some on houses, some on vehicles. We actually heard from Volusia County that 2 people were killed by trees that fell on them while they were in their home. This video is from Leesburg, where 2 huge oak trees fell near a few homes. Thankfully, in this instance, Darlene, no one was hurt.
Yeah, and Greg, as you just mentioned, we know that several people died, including those 2 deaths you just mentioned in the Volusia County area. 1 person in Ormond Beach, another in Port Orange, which is what you're looking at right here. This neighborhood behind us, you can see flooded extensively there. We have a crew heading that way right now to try to gather some more information about the work to clean up after the storm.
Yeah, that will be impassable, no doubt, Darlene. And right now we do have a full team assembled across the region, including along our coastline, which again took a beating. And again, it has been a problem from Brevard, Volusia, Flagler. But we'll begin right now there in Brevard County. And we've got Mel Holt live. And Mel, you were first on scene for a tornado impact, and you've spoken to residents there this morning and this afternoon.
Yeah, we're still off of A1A here in Cocoa Beach, Greg, and I can tell you, at least here in the commercial area where you saw that tornado damage yesterday, the cleanup is underway. They're boarding up the supercuts right now, and they're actually making their way all around this building. But I can tell you, all around Brevard County today, the damage assessment is still underway. This Thursday, we got on the road to take our own survey of some Brevard County neighborhoods after Hurricane Milton. With Port Canaveral closed to traffic this morning, we headed over to Cocoa Beach to take a closer look at some neighborhoods caught in the path of a radar-confirmed tornado in the area of A1A and South Banana River Boulevard.
My wife said, you know, when we were looking at it, she saw it come down here, and then it sort of twisted and disappeared, and she couldn't see it anymore as it went past the back of the house.
So you actually saw the funnel cloud?
My wife did. I personally did. And that's when she started screaming. She was all very distraught, obviously.
Looking at all this, and I don't know, has anybody from, and I'm sure they're just starting to do, the storm's just passed, so I'm sure folks are coming to do damage assessments.
Yeah, we were on to our insurance company this morning. They called back and they said they're going to send a damage assessor out to obviously assess the damage and see what the repairs would cost, which I was very pleased they responded quickly. You know, I just wish we didn't have to make the call.
Gary Sorhan's neighbor, Cocoa Beach Mayor Keith Capizzi, was also at home.
It started right about maybe a couple houses down from mine. We got hit. Obviously, all these guys got hit a lot worse. And then the next street over, Wells Fargo roof, about a quarter-mile away, landed on their roof right there. So it was a pretty intense tornado.
From Cocoa Beach, we made our way over to the town of Melbourne Beach to check for signs of erosion. Brevard County's beach management director did a preliminary survey of miles of beach across the county to see how they fared after the storm. There were signs of erosion, but overall, we were told the county's beaches are in pretty good shape after Hurricane Milton, and some local residents would agree.
I expected it to be worse, really. Yeah, I've seen it much worse than this over the years, but that doesn't go to say that it's not going to get worse once that storm gets out there, pushes some more swell.
And I learned learned in the last few minutes, Brevard County has closed its general population shelters. Those are now closed. I can also tell you that the National Weather Service is in the area right now to survey this damage that we've been showing you around Cocoa Beach, and we hope that very soon we might have a preliminary idea anyway of just how strong this tornado was. But I can tell you this damage spans a few blocks here. Reporting live here in Cocoa Beach, Melanie Holtz, Channel 9 Eyewitness News.
It is interesting that the main damage we're seeing in Cocoa Beach, so concerned in Brevard, of course, for the hurricane, that it was a tornado that did the significant damage there. But fortunately, no deaths to report out of Brevard County.
Yeah, Channel 9 Shannon Butler has been checking out storm damage for us to the south. She is live now this afternoon, still in Polk County.
Yeah, we are in Polk County. We had actually come up from the neighborhood we were just in, just trying to take a look around to see if any of the water was starting to recede. It appears to be receding a little bit, but take a look. This is where there's like a creek over here, and it's just kind of flattened over this road right here. It's finally passable a little bit. Most of the cars back there, though, are turning around, afraid to go down this road. But pretty much at this area right here, if we just spin around, all in every single one of these roads are pretty much impassable, or at least they were till just a little while ago. This is the scene all over Polk County. They were just hammered by that hurricane. We came up from Tampa Bay earlier today. The traffic along I-4 going towards Tampa, towards Polk County, it is bumper to bumper on I-4. Many of the people even here in Polk County that had maybe come to higher ground are all now trying to get back to where they came from to try to assess the damage. There are so many homes here that are inundated with water. The roads are taking a beating here. They're still trying to assess some of these roads to see if they're holding up under all of this water. This is an area that doesn't usually flood like this. It was just so much water, and many of these folks here were also under that flash flood warning. That is why we're seeing all of this water like we did in Tampa Bay last night. That flash flooding was just an extra pain for everybody living here. Greg, Darlene?
My goodness, it's rare, but we have to say roads in many areas are no wake zones.
No, and Shannon had a great point there. It's that water sitting on the road, so we're potentially looking at more damage even after the water gets out of there because of
so many washouts, right?
Yeah, already we have. So we want to get you over to Volusia County, where Channel 9's Ashlyn Webb has been monitoring and really assessing the damage over there. She's live on Daytona Beach shores, where they're also dealing with significant flooding.
Yeah, guys, I'm in Daytona Beach, and this is Beach Street right now. We were talking about this a couple days ago, even yesterday, about the flooding that this area would get, and we're seeing it now. I'm in about ankle deep of flooding, but farther down, you can see closer to Magnolia, you can see that it is pretty much, I would say, thigh to knee deep. And you can even see a current. I'm going to step out of the way so you guys can see a little bit better. I mean, there's a current moving through these floodwaters. We've seen cars trying to get through these areas. Earlier this morning, we were reporting live when a car actually stalled out right in front of us. The driver had to push it through. This is what we're dealing with in several parts off of Beach Street. This is an area that saw a lot of flooding during Ian and also Nicole. But I will say, looking at this versus Ian was much worse, but we don't know really the damage inside of these properties at this time, because a lot of these business owners have not returned to their properties to see how much flooding is in the area. I don't want to point out too, I want to show you guys this building right above me. You can see the windows are blown out. We've been talking about this a good bit, about the wind damage we are seeing throughout Volusia County. Just a couple minutes ago, we were at that gas station where you saw the glass blown out there. I mean, we are seeing this throughout the county. Also over here, you can see that parts have been blown off of this building as well. The thing is, I mean, this area has really prepped the best they could before going into this storm. Almost every single storefront had their boards in front of their windows. They had sandbags. They were really hoping for the best because, like I've said, I mean, this area has seen a lot of flooding before. You know, speaking of the damage that we're seeing in Volusia County, sadly, we did hear that there is 2 confirmed fatalities. And I just got some more information from Volusia County Sheriff's Office. They did tell me that one of them is a 79-year-old woman in Ormond Beach. A tree fell on top of her house, and sadly, she passed away. And also a 54-year-old woman in Port Orange. Also, a tree fell on top of her home, and she passed away as well. Speaking of the winds, you know, yesterday the bridges were shut down. That was about 9:30 yesterday. It's because of the sustained wind that we had in this area. Once it reached 40 miles per hour, they shut down the bridges, and we saw that the wind pick up throughout the night. Finally, the bridges, it looks like, have opened for the most part. We've been able to drive over several of them, but the problem is once you cross those intracoastal waterway bridges, then you see this. You see the flooding, the substantial amount of flooding that's really dangerous to cross through. You can see that Jeep crossing through it now. We have seen cars stall out, so it's definitely not advised. And we see another one crossing through this area too. But you can see here the sign says road underwater, road closed. We see a lot of those signs throughout Beach Street. So that's the risk, is if you do cross the bridge, you might have been able to cross the bridge, but you might not be able to get through the flooding here. We'll continue to follow the conditions out here, and we should be hearing from Volusia County pretty soon about any updates they have on damages and also the injuries, water rescues, and sadly those fatalities that we've been hearing about as well. But for now, reporting in Volusia County, Ashlyn Webb, Channel 9 Eyewitness News.
All right, thanks, Ashlyn. And you know, it is unfortunate you have those fatalities, and a lot of times it's after, you know, the storm. They also had some after Hurricane Ian. Yeah, all right, we're going to continue with our coverage. We're going to go back to Volusia County and hear from leaders. We will bring you their news conference. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back with that. We've got a lot of pit stops to make here as we take a look and assess the damage. This is the day after. We're giving you Hurricane Milton aftermath right here on Channel 9 and WFTV.com.
Milton brought the biggest tornado outbreak in Florida history in one day. That's why we spent days and days to update all the county by county impacts, to give you that advanced warning, to track it street by street and tell you that it's coming and it's time to hunker down. Hurricanes and severe weather coverage are why I do what I do. This is why we are here. We all work as a one big team here at Channel 9 to keep you informed, and we're going to get through this.
This update from Severe Weather Center 9 is sponsored by Toyota of Orlando and Toyota of Claremont.
All right, we have the Volusia County officials now giving an update on Hurricane Milton, so let's listen in. This news conference just started moments ago.
Beach, as both had a tree topple over on their residence. Our hearts go out to those families and to everyone who has been affected by this storm. As I said, we have been in response mode all day, but also the path to recovery has already begun. As with our previous crises, we're working expeditiously with our partners at the local, state, and federal levels to leverage any and all necessary resources to come to the aid of our community. We will continue to be here for you. If you sustain damage from the storm, please let us know so we can report it to the appropriate state and local officials. This can potentially help us obtain assistance for our community quicker. Please take photos of your property and upload them to the emergency management app or on our hurricane page located at volusia.org. You can also report damage or request cleanup assistance by calling our Citizen Information Center at 866-345-0345. Now I'd like to welcome Volusia County Sheriff Michael Chitwood to the podium. Sir.
Thank you, sir. Good afternoon. I want to start off by saying that all of the bridges are open except at this point for Dunlawton. Due to the flooding, I think it's impossible for anybody to go over the bridge eastbound or come back westbound. The second thing we want to talk about is our curfew. Tonight, we will begin our curfew at 9 p.m. and we will lift that at 5 a.m. As you heard our emergency management director say quite clearly and succinctly, now is not the time to be out on the road. If you have to go to Publix, if you have to go to the drugstore, if you have to check on your family members, by all means do it. But you have to use caution. We are working calls right now for cars that are in flooded ditches where people say they saw the car drive in with occupants, and resources have to go out there to look and see whether in fact somebody's in there. When it gets dark, it's not going to make it any less perilous out there. There are flooded roadways. There's roadways that have washed away. We have about 170,000 people who don't have power. You can see the devastation that we took. We really need our residents to allow the county and the cities to get out there with their public works, their road and bridge, to let Duke Energy get out there to get us back on our feet by Friday morning. As you heard the director say, we had 4 deaths. 2 of the deaths were from falling trees. 1 of the deaths was from boarding up their property, and they took a heart attack while doing so, and another was a cardiac arrest that first responders could not get there in time during the height of the storm. I had the ability to traverse the county last night prior to and when the eye came ashore, and I can tell you, we are in for a long recovery, but we need your help to get it done. I want to thank Fish and Wildlife for the resources they supplied us. I want to thank county administration for allowing us to do our jobs to get this done right. And I want to thank the governor. It's a great relief knowing that we had National Guardsmen in this building, in the EOC, with their equipment, ready to go on a minute's notice to back us up and be there for our residents. So we're going to get through this. Just give us one more night. By tomorrow morning at 5 o'clock, we'll be able to resume life as much as we can. And with that, I'd like to introduce my good friend, County Councilman, District 2, Matt Reinhardt.
Thank you, Sheriff. As the Sheriff said, the loss of life during any event like this is traumatic, and our thoughts and prayers go out to those individuals that were. This is a very traumatic storm. I just want to get up here to emphasize the fact that the coastal area that my district encompasses, there's a lot of flooding on Beach Street, flooding in some of the local neighborhoods. Just getting out of my neighborhood alone, there's hard to navigate through that due to the fact that you have stormwater ditches that are in place. The water has already covered the road. There's no way to navigate off of that. And then in addition to the fact, remember that those individuals that live in those communities, their homes are flooded already. And by you pushing that water, trying to barrel through those roads and that waterway, all it's doing is creating that wake zone, if you will, in a vehicle, and it's going inside those homes. So please use caution, use common sense. These could be your homes as well. This could be your families that are impacted as a result of that. So use caution. And again, if you don't have to go out, please don't. Take heed to the orders that are given from the sheriff's office with respect to the staying indoors if it's not necessary to go outside, and try to avoid the looky-loo syndrome, as I refer to it, as individuals that want to see the devastation. There'll be enough media coverage that we'll be able to produce that for you, so please stay off the roads. And thank you very much. Now I turn it over to our friends at Duke Energy.
Good afternoon. I'm Patty D'Alessandro at Duke Energy. As of 3 p.m. today, Duke Energy service territory had over 950,000 outages. 55,000 of that is in West Volusia County. As you can imagine, we're assessing the damage on our infrastructure and our equipment. That's the first step in the restoration process. Now it's going to be a lengthy process to restore power in the community. We focus, obviously, with safety in mind, and we will do this as quickly as possible. As we begin this, we ask residents to make sure that you consider all power lines if they're down, trees, limbs, or anything. Stay away from any power line or any line that's down on the ground. It could be energized and very dangerous. Stay away from lines. If a line goes over your car, stay in your car. If you have a phone while you're in the car, call 911. If you have a power outage, you can go to duke-energy.com you can use the mobile app by texting OUT to 57801 or calling 1-800-228-8485. Be sure to sign up for the outage alerts, and we really appreciate your patience during this process. Thank you.
As you heard from our Duke Energy partner, there are still residents without power. Aside from what Duke Energy reported to you, there's more than 125,000 FP&L customers without power, 1,300 from Clay Electric, and nearly 23,000 from New Smyrna Beach Utilities. I can assure you they are working diligently to restore power as soon as possible, and between all of our partners, they've restored more than 35,000 customers already. I would also like to take this opportunity to give a special thanks to our Volusia County schools for being such incredible partners in allowing our residents and providing for them a safe place to stay during the event. At the height of the storm last night, we had over 1,000 of our citizens checked into shelters, with a little under 400 still remaining in the shelters now. We're coordinating with schools, other governments, nonprofit organizations, and others to shift away from emergency sheltering and get everybody into transitional sheltering as soon as we can. These are for our folks that have sustained damage from Hurricane Milton and are unable to return home. We are also working with partners to address housing needs for each affected household with no place else to go, okay, whether they're in shelters or not. To our first responders, law enforcement, fire, EMS, animal services, our community cannot thank you enough for your efforts throughout last night and today. Your bravery does not go unnoticed. You're there for our residents in the worst conditions, often jeopardizing your own safety to help others. You're all heroes, and the simple words, thank you, are not enough. And finally, on behalf of Volusia County, we want to thank our residents. I want to take this opportunity both professionally and personally to thank our residents and our visitors to Volusia County for being such upstanding and outstanding partners through this event. You sought out sandbags. You prepared your homes. You stayed home during the peak of the storm. You did all of the things that we asked you to do in order to help minimize the impact to our community. Again, for those family and friends who lost loved ones or have had loved ones that are injured, our sympathies, my sympathies, go out to you. We will continue to be here for you for as long as it takes in order to get our community back to the new normal. But I must ask of you, going forward over the next few days, please continue to exercise good judgment. Our roads will be littered with debris and damaged. The ocean is going to be extremely hazardous. Like always, your safety is our top priority. Please help us accomplish that goal. At this time, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Confirm. Thank you. So 4 deaths, 3 had trees fall on their homes, and that's how they were killed, and 1 was a heart attack?
As of right now, we can confirm 4 fatalities. 2 of those were due to trees falling on their residences. 1 was a cardiac issue that EMS just could not get to in time, and another one was an issue, probably cardiac, that occurred while they were boarding up their home.
And do you know about how many high water rescues you've had to do?
At last count, when I talked to our folks in fire and law enforcement, we had effected at least 170 high water rescues. That number may have increased since the last time I talked to them. Sheriff, do you have a different number, sir?
No. What we did, though, was it was a 2-tiered approach. The first tier was medical emergencies and folks who would call and say, hey, the flooding's coming in. It's a matter of serious bodily injury or death. And then tier 2 was, I got a foot of water in my house. I can't get out. I have to go somewhere dry. Can you come and get me? So that's how we worked it. During the height of the storm, it was tier 1. And then once the storm and the eye passed us, then we started working on tier 2. Obviously, tier 1 was always a priority. So as the director said, it was about 170 that we were able to get to safely out.
And I know the damage is obviously pretty widespread in Volusia County, but were there any parts of the county that you would say were particularly hard hit by Milton?
So, strangely enough, a lot of the areas that we saw heavy damage during Ian were a repeat of this time. So, Midtown and Daytona Beach, DeLand, Deltona, some areas in Port Orange. Those areas we know were significantly impacted. South Daytona also received a significant amount of damage. So, again, anyone in those low-lying areas or that have been susceptible to damage in the past, unfortunately, it was a repeat in many cases.
And how long would you say till things are mostly back to normal?
As we move further and further away from the event, we'll get things back to that new normal more and more. But it is going to be a number of days and perhaps even weeks, depending on what our critical infrastructure partners can accomplish. FP&L, Duke, New Smyrna, and Clay will be doing their level best to get power back up and running as fast as possible. Again, our outstanding school partners will be doing everything they can as we transition from emergency sheltering into transitional sheltering and getting their schools back open and the kids back to school. Again, our private industry partners, the grocery stores, the gas stations, again, are doing their level best to make sure that those commodities are available for our citizens and our visitors here in Volusia County. But it could take a number of days before we approach anything that looks like normal, and it could be weeks before we actually get to the point where we're back to a new normal. Any other questions? Again, thank you for joining us this afternoon. We appreciate your time and your partnership. We look forward to talking to you again.
Excellent and thorough in terms of all the different agencies there in Volusia County, one of our largest areas, and so diverse because you have the beach, you have low-lying areas, you have the racetrack, you have inland, you have rivers. And the sad part about that, we knew of the 2 fatalities, Darlene, from the trees falling. We got a few more details on that. A 79-year-old woman was in her home and a 54-year-old woman. And then the other 2, one was a heart attack while boarding up, we believe a male boarding up his house, and the other one had a cardiac arrest, and they just could not reach that individual. So 4 confirmed deaths there in Volusia County is, of course, too many. But as Sheriff Chitwood said, everybody came together, pooled their resources, and he said, we are in a long road of recovery, and we need your help to stay off the roads. And we'll try to give the roads back to you as best we can by 5 a.m. tomorrow. And part of that includes also, he talked about the curfew that they're going to have as well, 9 p.m. to 5 a.m. And really it's to keep everyone off the roads, out of the way of those who are trying to get the community back to a sense of what they said, a new normal. All the bridges are open except Dunlawton. Now, Dunlawton is the bridge that takes you from Port Orange into Daytona Beach shores. It's a popular bridge, but they have some water issues, so you may be able to get over it, but you can't get back. And so that bridge will remain closed until further notice. There are several other bridges that you could take and then route yourself if you had to get down, of course, to, say, Ponce Inlet and those sorts of locations. New Smyrna Beach, we did not hear anything about them. The video imagery coming from New Smyrna shows quite a bit of flooding. We're going to continue our coverage right here. We'll take a quick break, and we'll be back at 4:30 with the very latest as we continue the aftermath coverage here on Channel 9 of Hurricane Milton.
And it's a tragic thing because it's not like, oh, they should have evacuated. I mean, what do you do when you have a tornado? You kind of duck and cover, happens so quickly.
Tampa is a mess. There are water rescues, roads flooded, trees down, a lot of structural damage in that area.
A lot of wind, considerable rain, minimal chaos.
Minimal chaos. That is a great way to put it. We have a full team of reporters spread across Central Florida, keeping you informed on the hidden dangers and the latest information from our local leaders. Hurricane Milton has forced people across Orange County and really other parts of Central Florida to watch out for the floodwaters left behind. Darlene Jones, Greg Wormuth with you. We'll take you all the way through the rest of this hour, and I want to bring you to Edgewater Drive near Lake Adair and Daryl Matthews. He is there, and this is something that, again, some of the residents were reaching out to me last night in the midst of the storm saying the water is rising, the streets are flooding, my yard is a mess with so much water. And Daryl, you've got an example of what those people dealt with in the dark last night.
We're looking at a site that's going to be pretty common to a lot of neighborhoods after Hurricane Milton made landfall here. This is Lake Adair. Right now, you see that a lot of the water from the lake is starting to push towards the street. Right now, where I'm standing is on the sidewalk, so it shows how deep right now that walking on the sidewalk where people normally jog is with this water. But it's starting to come pushing out towards the street of Edgewater Drive. As you can see, a lot of debris still out here, and officials did block off this road, so it's forcing a lot of the vehicles to make U-turns or to take alternate routes. As you can see, a lot of these cars right here. But what's interesting while coming out here to look at this lake is that a lot of this water is starting to come up from these manholes. You can see officials remove the lid from it to let a lot of the water escape and to go down this drain. I found that pretty interesting. But I'm pretty sure once the water starts to recede back into the lake, they'll open up this roadway for a lot of the drivers. But as of right now, it's unsure how long that will be, but we'll keep monitoring to make sure that this is passable for some drivers safely. For now, we're live in Orlando. Daryl Matthews, Channel 9, Eyewitness News.
All right, thanks, Daryl. And they had some flooding in that neighborhood even before the hurricane. So
they really did.
Yeah.
And there's some issues there, possibly with drainage. And, there's been such redevelopment of College Park. It's a sleepy little town with small homes, and now a lot of those have been knocked down, and that may have messed with the infrastructure. Channel 9's Sabrina Majori is going to join us right now.
She's live in Apopka right now on Main Street. And Sabrina, I see some caution tape behind you. Must be some damage there.
Darlene, lots of damage to this subway right behind me. I first just want to direct your attention to the side of the subway right here. You can see the crack there. But really, if you follow me this way, you can see this structure that has been deemed now unsafe as of this morning. If you look inside the windows here, you can see that the roof is actually entirely collapsed here. You can see the insulation as well as wires hanging inside of the subway here. If you keep on following me down this way, you can see that sign from the city, I believe, that says that this structure has been deemed unsafe. And if you direct your attention up to the top of the building over here, you can see really the extent of this damage. We understand that this was caused by the significant wind that we saw here yesterday, and really all across Apopka we've seen structural damage. This is one of the worst cases of it in Apopka that we've seen so far since we've been driving around here. We did also see lots of flood damage as well as other damage to balconies and looks like other structures as well. But this structure here deemed completely unsafe. Police tape up at this specific location as well. We're continuing to kind of survey the damage in and around this community, driving around and really getting a sense of how bad the winds were and the impact of this wind. But for now, reporting live in Apopka, I'm Sabrina Majori, Channel 9 Eyewitness News.
Yeah, and wherever we drive, point the car in any direction and we see various damage. There's that phrase, the phrase that, if the creek don't rise. Well, if it does, if the creek rises, grab a canoe.
Yeah, and that's exactly what Channel 9 Chef Deal did. Just really some incredible reporting he has done for us today as he surveys and brings us images of the damage and really the extensive flooding there along the Little Wekiva in Seminole County, where residents are dealing with major flooding there. Let's take a look.
So we're on Little Wekiva Road in Altamont Springs. This is a community that has flooded before whenever we've had these kinds of storms. All of the homes along this side of the street back up to the Little Wekiva River. In fact, if you look between these two homes, you can see water flowing from that direction. That's water that continues to flow from the Little Wekiva River out into this neighborhood. And you can see homes out here are surrounded by water. They've taken on a lot of water during this storm, and they've had that in the past. We were out here in 2017 following Hurricane Irma, and neighbors told us that was the first time they ever had a flooding issue coming from the Little Wekiva River. We saw homes that were surrounded by water. We saw homes that had water inside of them, and neighbors knew that coming in to this storm. In fact, we spoke with some folks who spent 4 days trying to shore up their homes. They were putting sandbags out there. They were surrounding their homes with tarps and things like that, trying to keep the water out of their homes. And one of the gentlemen that we spoke with the other day, his son was out here surveying the damage today, looking at it, and he said he believes they likely have between 3 or 4 inches inside one of their homes. And then they also have a second home on this street, and they said they believe that home likely has a couple of more inches than that. So quite a mess out here. One of the neighbors was kind enough to let us use this canoe so we could get in here and survey some of the damage and devastation that some of these folks are going to be dealing with. In fact, the home that you're looking at right there, that's one of the homes that took on damage during Irma and again during Hurricane Ian a couple of years ago. And that's one of the homes that they spent 4 days trying to shore up. And the one right next to it that we're going to be approaching here in just a minute or two, that one is the one that took on even more water this time. And when we were out here in 2017, that home actually took on anywhere from 8 to 12 inches of water inside that home. When we looked inside that home following the storm, they had mold inside, they had mildew in the walls, and there was a horrible smell. This time, the homeowners told us that they put their furniture up on cinder blocks, so they were hoping the water wouldn't get that high and they wouldn't have as much damage, at least on their belongings. Now, as far as the walls and things like that, they likely are going to have to deal with a mess there. They decided to ride out the storm in Georgia this time and not stick around for any of this potential flooding that they thought they could face, and obviously they are now facing. We did see a crew from Seminole County Fire Rescue come through here in one of their high water vehicles. It did not look like, when we saw them at least, that they took anyone out of these homes. But I do know during Irma in 2017, a lot of people decided to ride out the storm in their homes and ended up getting stuck and had to be rescued. And in fact, when the rescue crews came in, some folks still didn't even want to leave their homes. So the rescue crews were coming over here and painting numbers on the sides of their homes to indicate how many people were still in there in case they needed to come out and do any more rescues. But the good thing that folks are telling us is that most of the folks who knew they had to evacuate did get out. They didn't stick around this time. And they also said that this storm was not as bad as Hurricane Ian. They don't have as much water here as Hurricane Ian. So it'll be interesting to see what happens over the next couple of days if the water continues to flow out of the Little Wekiva River. That's something they'll be keeping an eye on, and certainly something we'll be continuing to check on as well. We're now reporting from Altamont Springs, Jeff Deal, Channel 9 Eyewitness News.
The single greatest example of creativity, Canoe Witness 9. You know, and this is not far. This is just a little bit north of where the water was the issue. And this is Spring Valley. This is just a little bit to, let's see, to the west of I-4. And this resident who sent me this video, and this is that attitude part that I tell you about, feels incredibly lucky, has lived here for more than 25 years, has these beautiful oak trees in the front yard, now has a very expensive cleanup, but feels so fortunate because they did not fall on their home. And again, the community coming together there. And I just want to show that. That's an example. We've shown trees on houses, we've shown them on cars, and we've also shown you now near misses. And that's a near miss. That he said last night, the noise when those trees were cracking and that wind was rolling through, just absolutely something that they had not heard before in their lives, and they hope to never hear that again. And so thank you for that video, and we've got all kinds of viewer videos that have been coming in to our newsroom.
Yeah, they are truly blessed, and I just want to point out to Jeff Deal and incredible reporting there on the canoe. It also is a testament to his experience and his, you know, connection with the people in that community. He knew their stories, and that's why he was able to take us on a ride like he did. So thank you so much, Jeff Deal, and your photographer there.
And Octavio Torres, awesome, and he was not left on a canoe without a paddle in a creek. So he paddled okay, got through it, and it's one of the, to me, it's one of the great post-storm stories that you'll see anywhere, ever. We'll be right back. You know, we were here before, we were here during, and now we're here after. And the after will be a lot longer in terms of Central Florida coming together to help those who have been impacted by the storm. Good afternoon, I'm Greg Warmoth.
And I'm Darlene Jones. We have seen a lot of videos and pictures coming into our newsroom from our viewers, and we want to thank you for that, especially those who've really given us perspective from their neighborhood in the aftermath of Hurricane Milton. Channel 9 anchor Alex Walker has some of the videos submitted from our coast. Alex.
Hey, Greg and Darlene, good afternoon. We are doing our best to show you as much video as we can across our viewing area. Earlier today, we received some video from Volusia County. Let's take a look. This is some wild video from Deltona. Mike Hahn sending this in our newsroom moments ago. Looks like normal water damage, and then bam, you see an entire piece of roadway completely gone. That's incredible. Let's take a look at that again. That's going to take some serious time to fix and replace, showing you the sheer power of what Hurricane Milton produced there in Deltona. And check out some of the flooding outside of this housing complex. We're gonna let this video breathe here in a second, just to give you a sense of how much water hit this part of our viewing area in Daytona Beach. Just look at those cars, the water almost over the tires, and you're gonna see them pan to the side of the building. The water almost up to the doorknobs as well. So just tons of sitting water. We saw the live video last night during our coverage from Daytona Beach. That area just pummeled with wind and rain, and these are some of the impacts. And this is some crazy video here back in Orlando in the Richmond Heights area, the corner of Santana and Vergara Court. This huge tree was knocked over as a result of Hurricane Milton, all the roots and all. It's the only way in and out of that cul-de-sac neighborhood there. Our viewer that submitted this video said they're stuck and can't drive until that tree is removed. That is remarkable. That is a massive tree taken down from Hurricane Milton. We also have some updates from our airports as well for those of you curious about travel out of the state and into the state as well. Orlando International Airport said they're having a few domestic arrivals tonight, but no departures or international flights. They said, please do not come to the airport for a departing flight tonight. Departures begin tomorrow, and to check with your airlines for updates. Orlando's Sanford International Airport resumes operations tomorrow. Tampa International opens tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock. And as always, if you're curious about flight operations when they're resuming, just check with your airline and they'll have the information there, guys.
Well, that was a perfect transition, and I don't think Alex knew that, because our next guest, I just got word, is actually going to give us all the details we need about the airport, and it's from the highest power there.
Yeah, Kevin Tebow is here with us. Thank you so much, Mr. Tebow, the CEO of the Greater Orlando Airport Authority there. Thanks for joining us here. I'm Darlene Jones here with Greg Warmoth.
And Kevin, thanks again. We heard a little bit of what Alex was saying in detail. We're going to ask you some of those things. But first and foremost, did you all suffer any damage at the airport proper because of the storm?
No, thank you, Greg, Darlene. Glad to be here today. The airport, just to let you know, both airports actually, Orlando Executive as well as Orlando National, structurally sound. There was some minor damage, but such as some leaks and some downed trees on a few of our roadways. But overall, we're in good shape.
Some of our viewers, Kevin, may be a little bit frustrated, especially when we heard the news that Alex just shared about having to really wait for some of those departing flights until at the very earliest tomorrow. Can you walk our viewers through how those decisions are made and the why behind that?
Yeah, a lot of this done, Darlene, with coordination with all of our partners, whether they be our federal partners at TSA, FAA, CBP, or airline partners. Clearly, as the storm was approaching, many, if not all of our airline partners took their aircraft and repositioned them outside the state. And so now they got to bring them back. And as Alex was mentioning, especially the domestic partners, they are looking to bring back some of their aircraft later tonight to be ready for a Friday schedule. International airlines, on the other hand, will not start their efforts until tomorrow.
Final question for you, Kevin, and again, thank you for being here with us. I know that people have expensive, or companies have expensive planes they wanted to get out of here in terms of the airlines that service us. When do you anticipate a full flight schedule?
So we continually tell our passengers to look at their airlines and get with their websites or call them to make sure they get the updated information about their schedules. But in our coordination earlier today, they're all geared to try to resume as much of their schedule tomorrow, including some airlines looking to add additional flights as needed to help bring passengers either back here or to leave here back home.
All right, thank you, Kevin. We appreciate it. And again, check with your airline. It's going to take a while to get things flying again as we fly the friendly skies once again after the storm rolled through.
Yeah, and I'm glad he explained that because several people, I've had even friends texting me earlier, hey, is the airport back open? And they want to know, the why behind it. So I'm glad he was able to explain, the pieces that they have to put together to get the airport operational again.
Great question, because that, those planes, they sit out there. You don't want those facing hurricane force winds. And Tom was saying, yesterday, the gust at the airport, because that's where the official wind meter was, it was hurricane force yesterday, Tom.
87.
So 80, you always hear us talk about, at the airport. Well, that's where most of the measurements are taken. So 87 at the airport against a jetliner that cost millions and millions of dollars. That's not a good match.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to continue our coverage. Let's go to Lake County now.
Channel 9's Sabrina Maggiore has been surveying the damage there. She went to Mount Dora earlier today, where there is some significant flooding. Quite a few power outages there in the thousands in some neighborhoods there. Sabrina.
Significant flooding in the Wolf Branch Estates in Mount Dora. You can see behind me some of the kids in the community are having fun with this flood water here. But I want to show you the extent of this water. This water is really rushing through this community, impacting several homes in the neighborhood. You can see how this water is just flowing in from a nearby subdivision, actually, to this community here. And you can see it's also impacting several homeowners. You can see the homeowner here has about 2 inches of flood water in their home. They took precautions. They boarded up their windows. They have sandbags here, but they're still impacted by the floodwaters of Hurricane Milton. And look at the water that I'm standing in right now. You can see it's about 6 inches deep on me right here, deeper in other parts of this community as you move up that way. That is the latest here in Mount Dora. For now, I'm Sabrina Maggiore, Channel 9 Eyewitness News.
All right, that's the ground, and one of the neatest things that we have is we have the ability to use drone video. And as we go into the break right now, I want to show you, this is the Hazelton Village Mobile Home Park in Eustis. I believe that drone video is better than helicopter video has ever been. We do have that we're mixing in, but the drone just shows how clearly the structural damage and flooding in this area of Eustis is as the pond spilled over their banks. We'll be right back as we continue our coverage here on Channel 9.
Right now on Eyewitness News, Hurricane Milton is gone, but the danger isn't over.
Now is not the time to be out on the road. If you have to go to Publix, if you have to go to the drugstore, if you have to check on your family members, by all means do it. But you have to use caution.
The storm carved a path of destruction from coast to coast. Floridians are now cleaning up the pieces, from flooding to downed trees and tens of thousands of homes still without power. We have team coverage on Milton's aftermath.
We are here.
We're back.
Yeah, we were there before, during, and now after. The cleanup and recovery process has really only just begun. Good evening, I'm Greg Warmoth.
And good evening, I'm Martha Sigalski. Nice to see you, my friend.
Too.
Hundreds of homes damaged from Hurricane Milton, and sadly, right now we know at least 2 people in our area tragically did not survive this storm. A 79-year-old woman in Ormond Beach and a 54-year-old woman in Port Orange were both killed by falling trees. Channel 9's Nick Pampatonis is there, and we'll have an update soon from him. Greg?
And we also just learned, too, that 2 more have now died in Volusia County. Pre-storm, one died of a heart attack. The other died during the storm. They could not resuscitate that person. In Brevard County, residents picking up the pieces of their homes. As you can see in this video, it was a mess. This was not the hurricane. These pictures are because of the tornadoes that rolled through the area before Milton even made landfall. And this was some of the worst damage we saw. It happened, again, before the storm came through. The tornado outbreak, as our viewers know, was something that probably surprised most of us, the significance of that.
And in Seminole County, flooding is the main issue. Both the St. Johns River and Little Wekiva are at record flood levels right now. Several communities are underwater, and the water levels are actually expected to rise over the next few days. Look at that.
Yeah, and Jeff Deal gave us a tour in a canoe. That was incredible. And like most of Central Florida, down power lines and traffic signals litter communities. Several streets downtown impassable. This is a neighborhood just off of Oak Ridge Road in Orlando facing devastating flooding. The scene, unfortunately, not uncommon in Central Florida today. Many were flooded in the past with Helene, and it was a repeat performance.
And take a look at the latest power outages right now. Look at this. Thousands and thousands of customers throughout our viewing area, in fact, all over the state, are without power. But as we know, crews are working as fast as they can to get it back on.
We've seen them on the road, seen them in the neighborhoods. 50,000 electrical line workers, linemen and line women, although I've now learned that all of them like to be called linemen.
Yes.
They're working around the clock to get everyone's power turned back on, and we've already seen some folks having some success. I've gotten texts like, my power's out, oh, it's back on. So that's super cool and very rapid. It may not be that quick for you or your loved ones, but it will happen.
And just know they're out there doing their best to get it back on for you. We want to go right now to Polk County, where our Shannon Butler, our veteran storm chaser, if you will, is in Polk County. And I know you and I, Shannon, were talking on the way into work, and you said there were water rescues going on there. You were hanging out with the sheriff.
Yeah, there were water rescues here. We had come up from Tampa this morning from riding out that storm last night there. We had stopped in Polk County because we heard about these water rescues, and this is why. Take a look at the water up to that home. That is just one of many homes in this North Lakeland, Kathleen area that have been flooded out. The sheriff came along with some deputies today to rescue some people with those high water rescue vehicles to get them out of their home. You can see the roads here all these hours later still flooded. The water is starting to recede a little bit, but that does not help the folks in these homes. If you look around here, look at just how many trees are down just along this street here. If you spin around here, Carrie, you can see this one just came right up from the roots. That is an enormous tree right there, just laid on the ground. All along this road here, you can see trees down everywhere. The power is out here. People are running their generator. They've taken to their chainsaws, and they're trying to get the trees out of the road because it's just too much for the officials to get to. There's just so much damage here, like there is in Tampa, in Bradenton, in Sarasota, and even there in Orlando and further up. This is going to take days, if not weeks, to clean these roads up, and there is still so much question about when those lights will come back on. We're live in Polk County. Shannon Butler, Channel 9, Eyewitness News.
All right, Shannon, thanks so much. You know, we saw her when you and I were here last night. She was in the middle of it, things flying all around her, and it was so volatile out there in Tampa that, you know, she wasn't even on the ground in the elements. She had to be safe and do it from an enclosed area.
Yeah, they had the transformers blowing, the floodwaters rising, the dome, the Tropicana Dome having the roof ripped off just a few miles from where she was reporting for us. And as you can see, she's alive and well and doing well with...
We're glad.
Yeah, it was...
and a photographer, Carrie.
Yeah, they're professionals, as you said earlier, and they know how to avoid issues.
Yeah. All right, we want to go right now to Volusia County, where our Ashlyn Webb has been based for much of this storm, and we're learning that there still is a bridge closed in Port Orange. Correct, Ashlyn?
Actually, we are just now realizing out here. So we heard from Volusia County officials within the last hour. They were saying that the Dunlawton Avenue Bridge was closed, but I want to show you over here. We are still seeing people crossing over it right now. This is as the Halifax River is beginning to grow and grow. I mean, you can see, I want to show you guys over here. You can see how it's going onto this road over here and just stretching over, if we can show that over there. I mean, the wind's really picking up over here, and the Halifax River, you can just see major flooding in this area. Hey, Serge, I'm going to go over here if this is okay. I want to show you guys what we're seeing on this side. I mean, it is really unsafe for people to cross. I know that we are seeing people cross this bridge, but we are seeing cars stall out left and right. This is very, very deep water. It is not advised for people to cross through here just because we are seeing a lot of cars stalled. I can see 1, 2, I can see at least 3 cars stalled right here, right now. But we've been seeing this off and on, and it's really go at your own risk if you're wanting to cross over. Now, this is the bridge going from Port Orange into Ponce Inlet and Daytona Beach shores. And we heard from Volusia County officials not too long ago that they are seeing this across the county. Floodwater super high, the roads very dangerous. And they are telling people if you can stay off the roads, definitely do that. Now, they are also saying, too, if you're just driving around to check out the area, the destruction, don't do that. We are seeing that. I actually just spoke to a couple of people that they were from closer to the St. Augustine area that drove down here to check out the destruction, and the flooding is not advised at all. I also want to show you guys, I forgot to point this out earlier, there's a boat that just washed up onto shore during the storm. We're seeing that the Halifax River has just, I mean, the flooding out here is just unbelievable. We can see boat ramps and docks that are underwater to the left of me, Serge, if you want to show that over here. The curfew is going to be in effect beginning at 9 p.m. all the way to 5 a.m. here in Volusia County, and that is for a reason, just because the roads are so dangerous. We have already heard of 170 high water rescues in this area, and the wind is really beginning to pick up here as well. Most of the town, or most of the county, is also without power right now. The last check that I saw was about 60%. So it's going to be dark out here, high waters, heavy wind. It's not dangerous out here. We're going to continue to follow the conditions, but for now, reporting in Port Orange, Ashland Webb, Channel 9 Eyewitness News.
And again, we saw people traveling. That's the Dunlawton Bridge that was over her right shoulder. Over her left shoulder was one of my favorite restaurants from years ago that I've been to, Aunt Catfish's.
Yes, so good.
And so when you go over that Dunlawton Bridge, which apparently is open, even though the sheriff said it's not, you would take a left to go to Daytona Beach Shores and on to Daytona. And to the right is Ponce Inlet, over by the sea, in that area that was significantly damaged. So our crew is going to check out that area as well and see how we fared this time around. All right, to Brevard County we go.
Yeah, where we're going to go to Melanie Holt. She is in Cocoa Beach. And Mel, we checked in with you last night. You were there on the scene moments ago. You are Wilbur by the Sea, is that where you're at?
We right now are in Cocoa Beach, right there at A1A and Banana River Boulevard. This is the area where you saw that tornado damage, and you're here again right now because this is the end of a survey for the National Weather Service, and I'm joined right now with meteorologist Will Ulrich, and I know that you've been through those neighborhoods. Many of our viewers have seen here in Cocoa Beach, seen some of that damage, and I really want you to just tell us what you saw today and what you can tell us about this, now we know, confirmed tornado.
That's right, EF1 tornado based off of the survey that we just conducted over the past several hours. It's apparent to us that a water spout moved onshore Cocoa Beach and crossed the island in about 3 to 4 minutes, so it was a very fast mover. And based off of the damage that we've seen to homes and businesses, we're estimating that peak wind gusts were 85 to 95 miles per hour, which puts it on the EF1 enhanced Fujita tornado scale.
Now, when all of this happened, there seemed to be tornado warnings all around Central Florida. Can you tell us a little bit about how many warnings there actually were and how unusual that is?
It was a very unusual day yesterday as Hurricane Milton was pushing ashore the south central Florida coastline. The Miami, Tampa, and Melbourne National Weather Service offices had to issue a combined 120 tornado warnings because we saw an immense amount of circulations that could eventually become tornadoes throughout Central and South Florida, and it was one of the busiest tornado days for us in the state's history.
Please tell us, too, what you saw in terms of the damage as you surveyed this area, because we're standing right here, and I know this Wells Fargo bank has been condemned at this point. A lot of damage here, but what did you see in terms of those residences that you surveyed?
Sure. This was the most significant damage that we saw along the approximate half-mile to 1 mile path between the beach and the Banana River, but other homes along St. Croix and South Banana Boulevard had significant roof damage on the order of about 50 to 60% of some of their roof tiles pulled off and parts of the roofs pulled back, as well as significant tree damage. So that, combined with what we've seen here in our businesses along A1A, again suggests those wind speeds of 85 to 95 miles per hour.
And again, you said this came inland off the water.
Around 5:50 yesterday evening, we were tracking it on radar over the Atlantic Ocean, moved ashore, was on Cocoa Beach for less than 4 minutes before moving into the Banana River, where we think it eventually dissipated. We'll be working with Brevard County Emergency Management to determine if there was any additional damage on Merritt Island, but we are not aware of that at this time.
All right, Will, thank you so much for your time. He just finished this survey, all preliminary information you were telling me, but obviously they just had a chance to go through the neighborhood survey. I'm sure talk with residents as well about what they saw and heard, and obviously we now know EF1 tornado here in Cocoa Beach. Live here in Brevard County, Melanie Holtz, Channel 9 Eyewitness News.
And that was breaking news. That confirms that. And the one thing I found super interesting there was it was a water spout. And we talk about water spouts sometimes can become a tornado. This one did.
Yeah, I know. And Tom, you were tracking all of that, but to hear confirmation on the ground.
Yeah, you'll have kind of fair weather water spouts that just occur on an average day. They're usually relatively harmless. And then you'll have tornadic water spouts. These are the ones that are much more damaging. And this is the kind that we had yesterday. And we were live tracking this right down the streets here as this came ashore during the tornado warnings. And of course, we were tracking them all over, especially just south of us. We got very, very lucky. We had a massive, compared to this one, a massive supercell that came in just east of Holopaw. And that one weekend, we had another circulation closer to Lake Nona that never materialized. But this one, of course, obviously did. And Will Ulrich, the warning coordinator over at Melbourne, they all did a fantastic job, as did all the Weather Service offices and indeed the Hurricane Center and all of NOAA tracking Milton. And the number of tornado reports, 126. These are tornado warnings. A lot of these may be from the same one, but it was just an incredible day, the most in Florida history, and the number 2 U.S. all time. We had a super outbreak of tornadoes in Alabama. That was the number 1 number of tornado warnings issued. But Florida, that was an incredible day. Just a survey here. All these are rain, wind, tornado reports, flood, surge, at least 220 plus. So what a day. Right now, we still have the waves coming in. We're coming out of high tide over in Daytona Beach. We do have a few showers left over along the coast as well, but things are definitely starting to improve. We are still, though, watching what is left of Milton. It's now an extratropical cyclone. Cold air got into it. No doubt you felt the cool down that's ongoing, and this will keep Milton moving away and offshore. And I wanted to show you this one graphic. This is the first time I've been able to show this in probably at least 5 months. Tonight, I've got low 60s, and I have 58 in Citra. So it is going to be much cooler, and for those who are still without power, a much cooler night. And we're also going to be updating the tropics. Right now, nothing else brewing, but we're going to be keeping an eye still on that Western Caribbean hot zone in the next couple of weeks. Martha and Greg.
All right, Tom, thanks so much. We've also been telling you about the dangerous flooding caused by Hurricane Milton.
Yeah, and in Volusia County, Sheriff Mike Chitwood said his agency is working on several rescues in those floodwaters.
We are working calls right now for cars that are in flooded ditches where people say they saw the car drive in with occupants, and resources have to go out there to look and see whether in fact somebody's in there.
Yeah, that's frightening. This is video sent by a viewer of some of the flooding in Daytona Beach. It is widespread flooding. If an area flooded during Helene just now 2 weeks ago, I think 2 weeks ago today, most of those areas flooded again. That's according to the county manager who held that press briefing along with Sheriff Chitwood. All right, we've got winds, and some of those winds were incredibly powerful.
Yeah, take a look at this. An RV flipped on its side. This is video from Martin County, and as we know, yesterday in covering the storm in St. Lucie County, there was tornadic activity. The video coming out of there just so incredible. But again, this is in Martin County now, where this storm has just affected just so many people, so many different parts of our state, where it just knocked over this RV.
Yeah, and it's so many different parts of our state in so many different ways. So that was tornadic activity more than likely. We had a tornado in Cocoa Beach, plus we had a hurricane in Cocoa Beach, plus we had flooding, of course, up and down our coast, trees down. I mean, it's a story that each person will be able to tell, and it's a story that is much different depending on where you live. But all of us lived through it, and that's the blessing here. All right, we'll be right back. It is a little after 5, about 5:15 right now. We'll continue our coverage here on Channel 9 as we take you around the horn and take a look at what happened after Hurricane Milton left our island.
Channel 9 Eyewitness News, live coverage of Milton's wrath.
There you see. Wow.
My goodness.
That's a transformer that blew live on TV.
The wind gusts enough to knock me off my feet at this point.
This building right behind me here, well, this was the Supercuts.
Accurate tracking to keep you safe.
This heavy rain will be unrelenting.
126 tornado warnings were issued.
This could be before midnight. We spotted it as it developed.
Channel 9 Eyewitness News, hurricane coverage you can count on.
This update from Severe Weather Center 9 is sponsored by Toyota of Orlando and Toyota of Claremont.
Good evening. It's now 5:16, the day after, and we saw things this morning that were just what we thought we'd see in terms of damage. But we're seeing the way that we cover the story much differently than I've ever seen it before. I'm Greg Wormuth.
And I'm Martha Sagowski. We have shown you the extensive flooding from Milton. We want to go right now to Channel 9's Jeff Deal in Altamont Springs, and he is giving us a unique perspective of the floodwaters there from a canoe.
Yeah, we're out here on Little Wekiva Road where they did take on a lot of flooding here in this neighborhood overnight. This is a neighborhood that is known to flood. We were out here in 2017 during Hurricane Irma, and that's when neighbors tell us the first time they ever had flooding from the Little Wekiva River, which runs directly behind the homes that you're looking at now. And you can see these homes are surrounded by water. There are some of the homes that have taken on water. We spoke with a son of one of the homeowners, and he came out here to survey the damage a little while ago, and he said he believes one of the homes that they have on this street took on maybe 3 or 4 inches, and another one took on a couple more inches than that. So they do have water inside some of the homes. One of those homes that took on most of the water there when we were here in 2017 had anywhere from 8 to 12 inches of water inside. In the days after that, they had mold and mildew. It was a big mess for them to clean up. They also had flooding 2 years ago during Hurricane Ian out here. So folks who live here were prepared for this. They spent days putting out sandbags and tarps and things like that, trying to protect their homes. And most of the folks that we spoke with, at least that were living along this street in houses where they knew they were going to get flooding, did get out of the neighborhood. One of the gentlemen said they actually bought an RV this time around so that they could take it to Georgia and stay there for a little while. And then if they do have to come back, they won't have to pay for a hotel like they did in previous storms. So quite a mess out here. We did see an emergency vehicle from Seminole County Fire Rescue. It was one of the high water vehicles that cruised through here. When we were here, at least, we did not see them pick anyone up. So we don't believe that they had to rescue anyone out of these homes this time around. Back in 2017, the first time the neighbors said they had major flooding, several people stayed in here, and there was also more water then, and so they had to be rescued. And the rescue crews were going around trying to convince people to leave, and some people still didn't even want to leave back then. So the rescue crews were painting numbers on the sides of the home just to indicate how many people were still inside those homes in case they had to come back out here and rescue them. But it seems like with more and more of these storms coming through here and flooding in the neighborhood, the folks who knew they had to get out, again, did get out and were not stuck in there. We did see some folks who were still in their homes, but they had their homes surrounded by sandbags. And the one home where we saw the people looking out the window in some of these homes that are right along this heavy flood-prone area, were just looking at us. It didn't appear that they had water inside the home unless they had water coming in from their backyard that we couldn't see. But quite a mess. They are going to have to do a lot of cleanup out here. It'll be interesting to see what happens over the next couple of days if more water from the Little Wekiva River continues to pour into this neighborhood, or if it ends up draining faster. I remember last time it did stick around for a little while, so it didn't seem like it drained very much then. But we'll keep on top of this, and I'm sure the neighbors here will be looking at it as well, and we'll let you know what we see. For now, reporting live from Altamont Springs, Jeff Deal, Channel 9 Eyewitness News.
That's what I'm talking about. Canoe Witness 9, and yeah, he went up the creek with a paddle, and they borrowed that canoe from somebody. Yeah, he did.
How'd
He had
you
a
like
paddle.
that, Tom, huh?
I mean, I have seen some pretty clever coverage.
That
and
was
to
excellent.
do the entire coverage of that neighborhood.
Well, it is Jeff Deal and
From a canoe.
Octavio, so, you know,
Yeah,
they're
Octavio.
the best.
They are so good. All right, that is just an example. And again, it's not about us, it's about the story, but the way he found a way to tell the story really brought the viewer to the situation those people are living in right now. And as we begin to try to recover and clean up from Hurricane Milton, safety again needs to be at the top of everyone's list.
You are so right, Greg. Governor Ron DeSantis spoke about the dangers that remain after the storm.
Now, please remember, as you survey damage and you clean up, be cautious of any downed power lines. They can be deadly. Do not touch them, and stay away from any debris that may be tangled within the power lines. Be careful of standing water.
Governor also said 3.2 million people remain without power in the state. Over 880,000 have been restored. Again, driving into work, I caught a quick nap in between my coverage with you and Tom, and the linemen were out. And again, we found out it's not linemen or linewomen. They all like to be called linemen.
Yeah.
And that's from the head of Duke Energy.
Yeah,
So
yeah. I was trying to be respectful, not, you know,
yeah,
I
they
didn't
don't
know that.
They
Yeah.
don't mind. But they're out rolling around trying to get the power back on.
All right, videos from viewers have been pouring into our newsroom from during the storm to after the storm. And here's a look at what happened in Lake Mary. Beautiful tree split in half. Again, it's how people are handling things with attitudes that have been just, as they've sent these in, they've been like, well, at least no one was hurt, or at least our house wasn't hurt or hit. And that just shows you the sheer power of the wind. And many of the trees, you know, did not succumb, but some that did will need to be sawed away. And here's that injury part, Martha, that you just talked about. Chainsaw injuries after a storm, #1 emergency room reason for people, because you get a hold of those chainsaws, and I've worked a few of them, and every time I've ever held one in my hands, I thought, boy,
And
this may not turn out well.
You know what you do? You come back to work, and I always see you with Band-Aids on your fingers. Thankfully, you're okay.
I got a sliver in my eye one time from one, and you talk about pain.
Yeah.
That was really, and I had goggles on, it just came in through the side. Anyway.
All right. We've seen extensive flooding all over the state, including right here in Central Florida. Check out this video that was sent in by one of our wonderful viewers. Greg, this is Ormond Beach.
Yeah, and we've heard from Volusia County Sheriff Mike Chitwood, who said his agency is working on several water rescues, people that may or may not be stuck in their cars. There have been reports to the Volusia County Sheriff that people, you know, went into the ditch. Someone witnessed it and said they didn't see anybody climb out. So they're checking on that. We're going to verify if anyone has been trapped. But this is the scene repeated over and over, and that video came from Volusia.
And we are continuing to see more and more videos of the devastating flooding. We appreciate it because a lot of you are sending it to Greg and I on our social media, and we're turning it around for you just as fast as we can. This is video sent in by a viewer. This is Daytona Beach. You can see the floodwaters literally up to halfway up some of these homes there. And, you know, we've been seeing kids playing in this stuff. And, you know, beside the animal element of snakes and other things, you really don't want to know what's floating around in there. So your kids might be going stir crazy being inside, but we really want to get the message out to you because obviously we care about you and your families.
You can get sick. There's microorganisms in the water, and that would not be good.
It's
I'll leave
we
it.
Saw,
Leave it
we
at
saw
that, yes.
flooding in Daytona 2 years ago from Ian that we had never seen before.
Right.
Remember the retention pond went over its banks, and everyone's like, well, what just happened? Well, they didn't get as much rain this time, but still, you add in a foot or 15 inches of rain, it's
we're already sopped.
Yes.
It's at the end of the wet season, which isn't helping either.
Make
Okay,
it in, Tom.
all right.
Let's go.
I'm working on it. This is a live view from Daytona coming out of high tide earlier today, and Milton continues to move farther away. It's really not a true tropical system anymore, and that's fine, but still a few passing showers. We're still on this western edge, if you will, of now a extra tropical cyclone. It's got cold fronts all wrapped up in it. No doubt you felt that today, and I want to go ahead and talk briefly about the tropics because I don't know how many people have sent me today, what about this Nadine storm that's coming, and it's coming to Florida? Balderdash.
That's a TikTok video.
However,
Doesn't make it true.
that is not the end of the hurricane season, okay? We are still mid-October, and we recall we had Nicole in November 2 years ago. So we have a week to keep things quiet. After that, we're going to keep an eye on our persistent trouble spot in the Western Caribbean. And the American GFS is trying to do a little something down here, but it's going to be well beyond the next week. So we have time to keep an eye on this. No way anyone knows what's going to happen down here. So don't let them think you tell you that they do. All right. So we're going to when I see something, I will let you know. Now, as far as the rainfall, Lake Helen, Port Orange, Apopka, well over 15 inches of rain, and that's why we had just a widespread flood event. And we'll have more on the St. Johns River, which continues to hit major flood stage at all of our locations when I see you again. In the meantime, let's enjoy some fall weather. 60s at night and 80s during the day. Martha?
We'll take that.
Yeah, absolutely. And what happens is, again, so many people, and it's fun, scroll through, your TikTok, and they, again, build these scenarios, because if to be successful on TikTok as the person that's putting these together, you have to have at least 1,000 followers to be able to go live, and each 1,000 that you get, you can also monetize. And so be careful, because the more you swipe and the more you click and the more you like, the more that you'll see of, as Tom called it, balderdash.
I learned a new word today.
I like that word.
All right, we'll be back right after this.
It is 5:30 p.m. I have to double check PM or AM. We've been on for a little bit. I'm Greg Wormuth.
And I'm Martha Sigalski. We want to go to Volusia County and the city of Port Orange.
Yeah, and Channel 9's Nick Pampantonis went to the Maplewood Mobile Home Park, and this was an area that mandatory evacuations. And as you look here and watch this report, you'll see why it was a good idea.
This is the Maplewood Estates in Port Orange. As you can see, looking down this road here, this entire mobile home park has been flooded by waters from the overnight Hurricane Milton. We got a truck here driving, got lots of people walking by, waiting to get to their houses, check on family members. Service right now very limited in this neighborhood, as people have running generators, if they have one, to get power. Others just simply sitting and watching and trying to figure out how to move on here. We have put a drone up over the neighborhood where we've seen that it's pretty much the entire neighborhood. We're on some high ground right now. There's just a couple of blocks here that did not flood. These neighbors very, very thankful that they're on high ground right now. And this is one of the hardest hit areas in Central Florida, though, overall, with the coast nearby, with this happening. A lot of water. I was told by one of the neighbors that this did happen 2 years ago during Hurricane Ian. Some people just rebuilding. He said he bought his place in March and was told that you should buy this one because yours is one of the ones that doesn't flood. And he told me it was a very good decision that he chose the one that he did here. Again, Maplewood Estates without power, very much looking like the storm just passed us here, and people just taking those first early steps right now to figure out what to do and what is next here.
It was terrible. Everything, the roofs were going up and down, up and down. It was, it was just devastating. Very lousy, a little scary. Not for me, I wasn't scared. I was worried about the kids. That's all I was worried about.
And so, did you did you watch the waters rise, or did you kind of walk out this morning and there?
I watched the water and how the roofs were going up and down and everything, and how bad the wind was coming in. It was really a terrible thing.
So the water is starting to evaporate and drain away. It is a very slow process, not as fast as people would like here, but that is going to reveal whatever damage needs to be done, whatever recovery needs to be done, and just going to be a very, very long cleanup process for this neighborhood, starting with the fact, again, the lack of power partially hindering the ability to begin that process as well. In Port Orange, Nick Papantonis, Channel 9 Eyewitness News.
All right, Nick, thanks so much. Hurricane Milton has forced people in Orange County to watch out for the floodwaters left behind.
Yeah, and again, it's been a repeated story over and over again. And let's get the latest on the College Park area. And Daryl Matthews is live on Edgewater Drive near Lake Adair. That lake rose and the water is still up, Daryl.
Yeah, so I'm just now talking to a resident right now, and as you can see me walking, I'm not going to walk too far because there's a dip in the road, but as you can see, they blocked or they covered their entrance gate monitors. So he says that this is not half as bad as Ian was, but you can tell that they started to prepare themselves for it. Now, this portion is where it starts to get deep, and as you can see, even deeper towards this bend where it's blocking a lot of people from going that way and or this way. So that's why the roads are blocked off. But people tell me that every hurricane that comes through, it starts to flood at Lake Adair. And earlier, we're now looking at a receding portion of the lake. Earlier today, this is what we should not be doing driving. That's why the roadblock is up. Seeing this car, but earlier today the residents tell me that this was connected to the other lake on the opposite side, and this whole street was not even walkable, as you can see that I'm doing right now. So what this car is doing is what we should not be doing, because she could get stuck. She's trying to U-turn. It's not passable for you. Yeah, they're making everyone go around so that way your car doesn't get stuck and you get trapped over there. But take a listen to another resident who was out here earlier today. He says as of right now, he has 6 inches of water coming from out here in that extra rain in his basement right now. Hear from what he said this looked like earlier today.
This lake does get filled, but it's really bad right now. I have a basement. My basement was flooded, so that was fun.
All right, so we also have seen some city workers out here who told us that they're trying to pump this and get rid of all of this water. As you see where this driver is going, there's also a manhole that they've opened up to allow some of this water to escape and go down some drains. But there's this other drain on the opposite side. If Ray could turn around just real quick for me, so I can get a chance to see. This debris that's in the street is also going in some of these manholes, so it's blocking a lot of this water from going down. So it's going to take some time, but the residents tell me they're expecting to at least start to see the street by Monday, the earliest. For now, we're live in Orlando. Daryl Matthews, Channel 9 Eyewitness News.
That was so neat. If she had attempted to do that, and we've seen it,
I believe if Ray, the photographer, and Daryl were not there, I think she would have gone through, because she already went past the 2 signs that basically were trying to block her. And during our last storm coverage, we saw Daryl helping people with their provisions while they were stocking up for the storm, and now he's helping to make sure their cars don't flood.
And we've seen in the past, Giovanni Diaz was actually putting sand in sandbags for people prior to the storm. So it's nice to see our crews helping folks out.
Yeah, all right, let's take a look at what's happening in the Apopka area.
Yeah, that's where Sabrina Maggiore is with more from that particular area in Orange County. Sabrina.
Well, Martha, this shopping plaza in Apopka has taken on a lot of water here. You can see it stretches hundreds of feet behind me here, and it actually stretches hundreds of feet in front of me, too. And I want to show you the source of this flood water here. If you take a look, you can see there's a retention pond here, and it is at capacity, completely at capacity at this point. If you take a look in the distance, you'll actually see that there is a pump now trying to help with the cleanup and reduce the level of this retention pond right now. And what we're seeing here is so representative of really the issues that Central Florida has seen throughout Hurricane Milton. And another thing I want to point out to you here, if you take a look here, you can see this light pole that snapped. Apopka had up to 75 mile per hour gusts of wind, and that is what the result of some of this is. Of course, lots of water in this area that's now in the cleanup process, that pump doing its job, hopefully, and trying to get this water level down. We'll continue to watch and monitor this. But for now, reporting live in Apopka, I'm Sabrina Majore, Channel 9 Eyewitness News.
All right, Sabrina, thank you for that report. Now, we told you about the roof being ripped off, just peeled back like a can of green beans on Tropicana Field last night during the brunt of Hurricane Milton. And here is how things look right now. You can, that's now a retractable roof, unintendedly. The baseball field looks like it just has some, debris, but that's where they were going to put the responders, and they moved that location because of the way the storm was tracking. So there was no one in terms of numbers there when that happened last night. That was a wild scene. That video came to us from the MLB network.
We're going to have more, another live shot with Nick Papantonis in Volusia County. They got hit pretty hard. You're watching Hurricane Milton Aftermath.
We're approaching the 6 o'clock hour. We'll be checking back in with certified chief meteorologist Tom Terry, and we'll let you know how things shape up for the cleanup as all of us are picking up the pieces from the storm. Good evening. I'm Greg Warmoth.
And I'm Martha Sigalski. Thanks again for staying with us as we now cover the aftermath of Milton. There are flooded streets all over parts of Volusia County, Greg.
There really are, and it's gotten bad for some folks. Let's check in with Channel 9's Nick Papantonis. He saw flooding firsthand, and this flooding is on Nova Road.
We're at Nova Road, just south of Dunlawton. As you can see, this main road here in Port Orange is flooded out. Cars still able to get through because the center lanes there are a little bit higher, but the outside lanes close to where we are, very, very deep at this moment. Port Orange, incredibly hard hit by this storm, even though it was on the opposite coast of where it was coming from. It wasn't just the beaches itself. It was over here where there are trees down left and right, including a big branch right in front of us, flooded roads. There's a lack of signal right now, and in many areas also a lack of power here. We talked to people that are saying they're just kind of surveying what's going on right now. They are making their plans to figure out how to begin this recovery process, but I was told by some people that did ride it out that it was a wild night of listening to the wind and listening to the rain coming down and just wondering what was going to be here when they woke up and came outside today. Again, you can see traffic on Nova Road here in Port Orange moving. It is slow right now. Some of those smaller cars definitely taking their time to get through. A lot of businesses around here shut, many flooded out as well, at least the parking lots in front of them. We have, there is, with some truck behind us here, appears to be doing a delivery, maybe fuel, looks like, just coming through the floodwaters. Actually, we can give you this look at this parking lot here as well in this strip mall that is, let's watch this truck go through here so you can just see how deep this water is right now. Again, still raining, too, in Port Orange. That's the other thing, is the storm is not over right at this moment here. We're getting on and off drizzles, nothing too heavy, but the water's still coming down, not making any recovery any easier, not helping that evaporation project. So that is the current situation here in Port Orange. We're going to send things back over to you guys in Port Orange. Nick Papantonis, Channel 9 Eyewitness News.
All right, a lot of our roads are now no wake zones, and I don't say that because you're going to flood your car, which could happen.
That could very well happen.
But we do that because think of the courtesy for the homes that may be very close to flooding or flooding. What happens, that water washes into their yard and then maybe into their house, all because you were going too quickly. So slow her down. And as the hurricane continues to move farther offshore, you might think it's safe to be back out on the roads and maybe back out in the ocean. Both of those.
But you may want to think again before heading out there, especially in Volusia County. The Director of Emergency Management has a message to folks in there.
We are working calls right now for cars that are in flooded ditches where people say they saw the car drive in with occupants, and resources have to go out there to look and see whether in fact somebody's in there.
We know Mike Chitwood very well. And we saw this video earlier today. This is in Deltona with what appears to be a water main break, turns into a road that, as you can see, has eroded. And these are just sights. You can hear it, sounds happening all over our viewing area from what Milton has done to the infrastructure. And again, it's going to take some time for crews to get back out there and, put it all together again.
Yeah, we have some roads that are split in half like that from the rushing water. We have some video as well, and this comes from one of our viewers, and this is from Orange County.
Yeah, it shows a massive tree that came, look at this, that came crashing down on their car and their home from the yard next door. This video is coming to us from Apopka. And the headlights are blinking right there.
That's usually from the alarm, you know. It felt an impact, typically a bump. That was more than a bump. As Hurricane Milton begins again to make those impacts, we'd like to see what you are dealing with and do it safely. Of course, never take a chance with taking these pictures, but share your images by scanning the QR code. It's on the screen right there. Go to WFTV.com/share your pics. And the thing about recovery when it comes from something like this, I believe, as it's all about attitude. You know, it could be worse. It's the only thing you can control. And so try to look at it like, okay, it could have been worse. And I know that's easier said than done.
We've seen people who've lost their lives.
Yeah.
So, you know, if you've got some cleaning up to do, you know, we don't have internet at our house. Of course, try telling that to 3 11-year-olds.
Yeah.
I'm like, guys, it's all good. Go outside and play, not in any of the standing water, but they're having fun with their friends and getting outside, and it's nice weather. It was, you feel the edge of the heat, it was off.
Beautiful.
October hurricanes, at least we have the coolness back behind it. But let me show you the power outage map here, and many of you perhaps have been kind of getting in and out of having power. Still 140,000 customers in Orange County without power, a lot in Lake County, of course, the most over in the Tampa area. We knew this was going to happen. This is kind of a no-brainer with a hurricane of this size. And right now, still a few passing showers. It's certainly cooler today, not a lot of heavy rain at all since the storms moved out. 75 degrees. Oh, and by the way, I was going to go put my jacket back on, of course, but I didn't bring it. So you're going to be stuck with me, but don't worry. There's nothing else to worry about here for tonight. Daytona, the flags took it on the chin. We're going to get new flags, but right now you can see the high waves still coming through. Still have a high surf advisory. We're still going to see some on and off kind of spritzy, rainy weather, but starting to improve gradually as Milton, which is no longer tropical. That's what the X stands for, extra tropical, or it's cold air. Cold fronts have gotten all attached to it, and it's still providing some showers along the coast. This will quickly move away and our weather will be improving, but it left behind a whole bunch of rain, as we know, 12, 13, 14, 15 inches of rain. That was actually right across the street from my house in Apopka, 15.32. And this, no doubt, is going to be stressing the St. Johns River, all the tributaries, as we know. And we knew this would happen. Right now, we're already major flood up in Astor. And part of this is also because the St. Johns is now backflowing a little bit with the winds pushing against the river, kind of backs it up a little bit. DeLand, you're already increasing your flood status, but all these colors, these are all going to be purple and be major flood stage as we head toward the weekend. And this will take weeks before it recedes. I know after Ian, it was probably about a month and a half in some areas before the water levels came down below flood stage. So it's just a long process. This is all part of Florida and these hurricanes. Right now, still seeing a few passing out of rain bands. We'll quiet down tonight. In fact, I've got some 60s, even possibly upper 50s in parts of Marion County, and still seeing some pleasant weather. Still a passing shower for tomorrow and even into Saturday, but by far the heavy rain course is long gone. Altamont Springs, the recovery up here, will have a northeast breeze, and I need to update these two numbers. Those are not correct. I think those are things I had to auto update yesterday for the timing of the rain. We will see only a slight chance for a passing shower. This is mainly just a brief shower tomorrow, but rain chances will be generally lower, and we're going to be watching another cold front approaching. In fact, this one could be the strongest of the season so far and bring temperatures well down into the 70s and even the first 50s of the season possible for Metro Orlando as we head a week from today. So we're still in hurricane season, though. There's nothing else cooking in the tropics that we need to worry about, but we're not out of the season just yet. I still think the Caribbean is going to be an area to keep an eye on, not next week, not in this 7-day time period, but beyond the next 7 days, but nothing firm out of there. If you've seen something about Nadine or something something on social media, just ignore it for right now. But make sure you pay attention. We'll let you know when things are starting to cook again. Tomorrow, beautiful day, 83 degrees, just a passing shower. And as we head toward the upcoming weekend, I've got 84, then 85, and warming up a bit more. And then perhaps a sizable front with temperatures quite a bit cooler heading toward the middle part of next week. And we'll try our best to keep the tropics as quiet as possible, Martha, but it still looks to be like a relatively active end of October, perhaps even parts of November. We saw this 2 years ago.
We just got to get to the end, Tom.
That's it.
All right. Well, we've shown you a ton of video of the damage caused by the tornadoes in St. Lucie County. It was such a mess.
It really was. Just an impact so quickly. And for these people, they're not used. We're not in Tornado Alley. So when there's a tornado warning, I don't think any of us begin to get anxious. But we should. And here is an RV owner, and that person had to make a split decision and maybe have saved his life by doing so when he heard that tornado approaching.
We were sitting in the shelter late afternoon, and multiple tornado warnings were being declared on everybody's phone. They were going off like 4th of July. And I said to my wife, let's go over to the motorhome before it hits and make sure we're got everything tied down. And we weren't in here 10 minutes, and I was in the back, she was in the front. I heard, as they say, you heard a train.
Yeah, and look at the aftermath. This was in St. Lucie County. The couple made it out just in time. They left the RV and arrived back at the shelter with just moments to spare. A few moments later, he could see the tornado tipping his RV over. There were fatalities in St. Lucie County because of this tornado. FWC is working many of those search and rescue operations we've been talking about around the state of Florida.
Yeah, you can see here they're actually picking up those trapped in the floodwaters. They're also conducting welfare checks to homes in the evacuation areas in case those residents rode out the storm there. And we know that several counties, Greg, have invested in these high water rescue vehicles. Some had antiquated ones from the Vietnam era, but they've spent a lot of money on upgrading their equipment that can hold more people and can go into deeper flood waters.
Last night we talked live with Alan Harris, Seminole County Emergency Operations Director, and they bought 2 of those, Martha, at $500,000 apiece, and they were using those regularly last night during the storm to save people.
Coming in handy. All right, utility crews working around the clock to get you and your power back on.
And getting the internet back
yes.
on. I just got a message from Spectrum. They say they're working as fast as they can. And as of right now, FPL says that it has restored more than 730,000 of its customers. OUC has restored more than 78,000 customers. And Duke Energy is reporting they have approximately 850,000 outages across the Sunshine State. We can earn our title back at Sunshine State because it's going to be a good weekend.
And we got KUA. Kim, our producer, what were you saying? How many? 322 customers with KUA.
There you go, Kissimmee. All right. We'll be right back as we approach the 6 o'clock hour. We'll reset things. We'll show you some of the best and worst video of what happened to us here in Central Florida. At about this time yesterday, we were really starting to feel the brunt of the storm, and then it was a long duration event. We sat here with you for about 20 hours or so as we went through this together. And Tom Terry, what a job that he and his team did to keep everybody informed, in the loop, and calm during a very unnerving night. We'll be right back.
Get local breaking news alerts when you download the Channel 9 News app.
On the next wheel, a close match.
Oh, this is exciting.
And big money. But which of these besties will make it to the bonus round?
It's the comeback story of the week. This is fun.
Watch Eyewitness News from any device with Eyewitness News Livestream. Sponsored by the law firm of Bogan, Munz & Munz. No gimmicks, just results.
Right now at 6, Milton's aftermath. The storm packing a deadly punch across Central Florida.
I should have left. I should have went to shelter because I'm like, by then, I realized it was too late.
A community in healing, making the most with the hand they were dealt.
It looks pretty rough out here, but if we can make the most of it, we are.
And we are seeing new damage from the storm every hour, and we appreciate you sending us what you're seeing in your neighborhoods, from the flooding to trees down and roads washed out. Good evening, I'm Greg Wormuth.
And I'm Martha Sigalski. Volusia and Flagler counties will have another curfew tonight starting in about an hour. Volusia County officials are keeping one of their shelters open again for you tonight in the event that you need it.
And our team has been out around the clock, literally showing us the storm and the aftermath now.
We begin with Channel 9's Melanie Holt, who is in Cocoa Beach. And Mel, you spoke to residents there. How are they doing after all this?
I can tell you they're tired after all of this. I just left one of those neighborhoods a short time ago when they were still cleaning out. They're also trying to clean out without electricity at this point, some of them. They're still working to fix all that. And you can see they're still working to secure buildings like this one near A1A and Banana River Boulevard. I learned just a short time ago when you last saw me that this all was caused by an F1 tornado. This Thursday, we got on the road to take our own survey of some Brevard County neighborhoods after Hurricane Milton. With Port Canaveral closed to traffic this morning, we headed over to Cocoa Beach to take a closer look at some neighborhoods caught in the path of a radar-confirmed tornado in the area of A1A and South Banana River Boulevard.
My wife said, you know, when we were looking at it, she saw it come down here, and then it sort of twisted and disappeared, and she couldn't see it anymore as it went past the back of the house.
So you actually saw the funnel cloud?
My wife did. I personally didn't. And that's when she started screaming. She was all very distraught, obviously.
Looking at all this, and I don't know, has anybody from, and I'm sure they're just starting to do, the storm's just passed, so I'm sure folks are coming to do damage assessments.
Yeah, we were on to our insurance company this morning, and they called back, and they said they're going to send a damage assessor out to obviously assess the damage and see what the repairs would cost, which I was very pleased they responded quickly. You know, I just wish we didn't have to make the call.
Gary Sorahan's neighbor, Cocoa Beach Mayor Keith Capizzi, was also at home.
It started right about maybe a couple houses down from mine. We got hit. Obviously, all these guys got hit a lot worse. And then the next street over, Wells Fargo roof, about a quarter mile away, landed on their roof right there. So it was a pretty intense tornado.
From Cocoa Beach, we made our way over to the town of Melbourne Beach to check for signs of erosion. Brevard County's beach management director did a preliminary survey of miles of beach across the county to see how they fared after the storm. There were signs of erosion, but overall, we were told the county's beaches are in pretty good shape after Hurricane Milton, and some local residents would agree.
I expected it to be worse, really. Yeah, I've seen it much worse than this over the years, but that doesn't go to say that it's not going to get worse once that storm gets out there, pushes some more swell.
And just a short time ago, I checked with Port Canaveral. The roadways there have reopened, but they are still doing a waterway assessment. As soon as we have details on whether or not they're going to open that up to vessel traffic, we'll certainly let you know. Live here in Cocoa Beach, Melanie Holt, Channel 9 Eyewitness News.
All right, Mel, thank you very much for that report. Just a great job by you and your photographer out there throughout this entire storm and being right there after the tornado hit. And we know some of you might need to return to work tomorrow, and as you've seen, many roads are in rough shape. Sunrail does resume not until Monday, though. Crews say they're still out there clearing out and checking the railway to make certain it is safe. And Lynx will resume its public bus service tomorrow. The tolls are waived across Florida until Monday. Martha and Tom.
All right, Greg. Duke announcing in the last 30 minutes that they expect to have power restored to all of its customers by tomorrow.
Wow, that's fast.
That's for great. Duke. Yeah, they worked fast, and you can see all the number by county, all the outages and other side of the state.
Yeah,
too.
We knew this would be very impactful. A combination of the wind and the water really started all this along the Gulf Coast, Martha, where we're still seeing well over 500,000 customers without power in Hillsborough and Pinellas County. Still 140,000 across Orange County, but Duke, of course, they were prepared for this coming in. Of course, they were doing a lot of relief work after Helene. Now they're back in the state, but still lots of, especially some of the more rural areas, are going to take a little more time.
And you can see it when you're out driving around. I know when you're coming into work, you can see all of the linemen out in the trucks. I was waving a mine saying thank you, to get the power back on. So eventually this will all be at zero at some point.
Hopefully we'll get it done here. We got great weather for this coming up for the upcoming weekend, and nothing else immediately pressing in the tropics. But we're not quite finished with the hurricane season yet. And we're not going to. There's nothing else pointed at us, but we're certainly going to keep an eye on it. But let's get everybody back to order here.
They're working on it. All right, Greg.
All right, guys, thanks. And let's continue our team coverage live with Channel 9's Shannon Butler. She has been right in the line of fire throughout this storm and others, and she's taking a look at how things are shaping up in Hillsborough County, and looks like you've got a flooding problem there.
Yeah, the rescues just happened here and at several mobile home parks along this part of Hillsborough County. That's because, look at behind me, you can see just how much water has come up into these roads and here in their homes. People could not get out today. So the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office just left a while ago to help those people. You can see down there, folks there helping each other. They were taking generators back there to try to get these people some power back here. It doesn't look like things that water got into their homes. In fact, we're going to talk to some folks here who were back there earlier today to check on your house. And you guys, you do not have water.
No, we do not.
What did it look like back there?
It's about, you wade through water waist high, and then once you get up to the house, I've got like my first step is clear and stuff. So go inside, I have no damage. So great.
But you've never flooded like this before?
No, never flooded like this before. So, yeah, it was interesting.
You know what has struck me as we've been going around, we've been in Polk County, we've been in Hillsborough County, we've been in Tampa, is the attitude, like both of you. You're just like, well.
It is what it is. You can't change it. So you just got to ride with it. So,
you lived in Florida for like how many years?
We've lived in Florida 7 years now. So, yeah.
So you're used to it.
Just ride to it.
This is a lot. Aren't you guys exhausted?
Yeah, we're tired, but hopefully we'll be able to get back into our house tomorrow.
Yeah.
So.
We're tired too.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah, we are. So, I mean, that really is the good news. At least there's not water, and in these homes, the water is starting to recede a little bit. It was out into this road. The roads are becoming more and more passable now as the time goes on. That's good news here, but there's still a lot of work to do in these counties. A lot of trees down, a lot of power out, and there is still a lot of water in people's homes. The people that were evacuated out of here did go to a shelter, and everybody is doing okay, but it was a long, scary night and not a great morning for them either. We're live in Hillsborough County. Shannon Butler, Channel 9 Eyewitness News.
All right, Shannon, thanks so much. And from Shannon, we're going to go to Volusia County, where we are going to check in with Ashlyn Webb, who is on Beach Street.
Yeah, Martha, and the big story here in Volusia County is and will continue to be the flooding. We have seen knee-deep, waist-deep water in parts, and you can see just how bad it is here on Beach Street, where I'm at now. It is one of those areas that has been notorious for flooding. You can see this road closed at the base of the Main Street Bridge, and you can see why. Just check out these floodwaters, that it actually has a current. I just saw a guy kayaking down here. You can see some people trying to drive through here as well. There was one car that just passed by moments ago, and a wave of water went over the top of their car. Dangerous, dangerous road conditions, and quite frankly, stupid to drive through. I want to walk over here to show you guys the homes that are underwater. These roads impassable, and this is why. The Halifax River, it is overflowing its banks, flooding homes, backyards, this street, and also several other communities around it. We drove down US 1 from Daytona Beach to Port Orange, and the roads, especially to the east of US 1, were just underwater from the Halifax. Earlier, we showed you the Dunlawton Bridge where cars were stalling out. There have been more than 170 water rescues here in the county. Now, the other big story here in Volusia County is the wind damage that we have seen. Signs ripped off of buildings, some structures mangled, windows blown out, and several trees down. Sadly, we have heard that 2 people died after trees fell on their homes. The combination of the flooding, the wind damage that we have seen, and also the debris in the roadways is why this curfew is going to be in effect from 9 p.m. all the way till 5 a.m. Officials here in Volusia County are just really encouraging people to stay off the roads so that first responders and the people that really need to be on the roads are able to do their jobs and get this place back up and running. We'll continue to follow conditions, but for now, reporting in Volusia County, Ashlyn Webb, Channel 9 Eyewitness News.
Ashlyn, so many people there have so much work to get done, so we're We know that as the days go by, it'll get easier and things will get back to normal.
Yeah, and so many people have been sending well wishes, actually, to Central Florida after they've seen what has happened. I know that maybe your friends and family have, but also in the world of celebrity.
Yeah, we're talking a lot of folks in the sports world sending us good wishes. Channel 9 anchor Alex Walker has more from Studio C. Hey, Alex.
Hey, guys. The first place Orlando Pride are set to play on the West Coast against Portland tomorrow night. They actually left Orlando before Hurricane Milton to make sure their travel wasn't impacted by the storm. And their head coach, Seb Hines, had this message today to those impacted by Milton.
On behalf of the Pride organization, our thoughts are out to everyone who's been affected by the recent disasters with both, Hurricane Helene and Hurricane Milton. And, we all wish for the safety of everyone. And, it's really important that everyone listens to the advice and what's been said. And our support and well-being goes out to everyone during this challenging time.
And this is great here. Mike Evans is a star wide receiver for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Mike Evans Family Foundation is donating $50,000 to various organizations in the Tampa Bay area to aid in hurricane relief. Mike has always been a great advocate and philanthropist throughout the state, and it continues with this generous donation. I imagine other members of the Bucs and other members of the sports world will follow with monetary donations. Mike and the Bucs, by the way, left Tampa back on Tuesday morning before Hurricane Milton made landfall. They've been practicing in New Orleans all week ahead of Sunday's matchup with the Saints. Greg and Martha, back to you.
Yeah, and it was so cool. The Buccaneers organization took all of the family of Bucs behind the scenes and others that are involved with the team and flew them out so that they would be out of harm's way. Orlando Magic have canceled their game for Friday night, which was going to be here at home because of the impacts of the storm. All right, all of us that have lost power are hoping and asking this question: how long will we have to wait?
But there is so much work that needs to be done all across our community, and scenes like this are all over our viewing area. Poles leaning or displaced or on the ground, the lines themselves torn apart, pulled down from falling trees. These are pictures from the Midway area.
And residents in Siesta Key, and they're the spot on the map that will recall this storm coming ashore, making landfall. They returned to the island, a beautiful place prior to the storm today, to survey all the damage left behind by Hurricane Milton.
Yeah, the eye of the storm passed over the area around 8:32 last night. There was some damage. Many residents felt what they found wasn't as bad as they had feared. Tactical crews first went onto the island to check the roadways and make sure it was safe before residents were allowed back in. Some streets remain flooded and street lights are out. Many roads are still littered with debris and sand left behind by that storm surge, but they are there and going to pick up the pieces and do their best to get back to normal just as fast as possible.
Yeah, the state of Florida, and you've heard Governor DeSantis saying that we're ready, we're fortified, and he is confident that those who have had this impact will be whole some point relatively soon. So again, the rebuilding process, it's part of what we do here in Florida. You know, storms come through, we deal with it, we rebuild, and we enjoy living in what I personally think is the greatest state and our greatest community in the country. We'll be right back as we continue our coverage. The aftermath of Hurricane Milton, it's next.
This update from Severe Weather Center 9 is sponsored by Toyota of Orlando and Toyota of Claremont.
All right, welcome back. It is 6:14 on the evening after
of Milton.
Yeah.
We made it. I'm Martha Sigalski along with my partner, Greg Warmith. We showed you this drone video earlier today of the damage from the Hazelton Village Mobile Home Park. This is in Eustis. You can see a lot of structural damage and street flooding because of all of the nearby ponds that had spilled over. Several homes also had water inside, and we have video of the flooding on the ground right there. We talked to several residents who were spending the day cleaning up. They chose to stay and ride out the storm.
I just felt confident staying. It was maybe a stupid idea, but at least I'm here and we're okay.
I should have left. I should have went to shelter because I'm like, by then I realized it was too late. You know, I should have left. I should have went. My house was shaking even, but I didn't get any damage whatsoever, nothing.
So many of the messages were similar to that gentleman and even that lady in inferring that she should have probably left too, because it was so frightening last night. It was such a long duration storm. And the home that you just saw from that man was not damaged. He spent the day instead, he said, because he was lucky, he thought it was important to help his neighbors. And that was the underlying theme last night. When is it going to end? Because Martha and I were conversing with you, our viewers, and it was just so long and so intense, like we've never seen before. And as Hurricane Milton does begin to, again, we start to swallow and see what we've seen with these pictures, we want to also encourage you to send us what you're dealing with. We can't be in every county. There's 9 counties, more than 3 million people that we service here, but please share your images. You can do that by scanning the QR code on your screen. Also, our website, WFTV.com/share your pics. We have shown a lot of those. We put them on our website, and everybody has a story to tell, and we want you to tell it with the use of what we have here.
I spent some time today going through all my Facebook messages because we were just slamming and jamming for 2 or 3 days, and just overwhelmingly thank you for all the kind comments and lots of coverage here, but that's kind of what we do. And I do believe I said Cocoa instead of Cocoa Beach once, and folks certainly reminded me they are not the same. However, I will tell you that it was in Cocoa Beach heading toward Cocoa, so I may have gotten those.
Well, I did the same thing, and I do it for Daytona. I never hear back from people like, oh, it's Daytona Beach. But in this instance, there's not a Daytona and a Daytona Beach.
That's
in this
right.
instance, there is a Cocoa and a Cocoa Beach. And, you know, when we're spitting all these words out, we mess it up sometimes.
Rapid fire.
Okay, listen, when you're here for, what, 20 hours straight on the desk?
It's been 10 long days, but I will be in
We're here
Cocoa
for you.
Beach tomorrow. We're going to go do a little survey.
And to get there, you'll go through Cocoa.
That's right. There you go. Send emails to P.O. Box. Here's
Mike.Warmouth at WFTV.com.
We've got a beautiful weekend coming up here for all the recovery. It's still on the rough side. High surf advisory still ongoing along our beaches. New Smyrna, downtown, a couple of showers here and there. And we're still on the western edge, if you will, of Milton. No longer a tropical system. That's what the X stands for, extra tropical, or it's filled with cold air now and cold fronts. It was very, very warm. That's what makes tropical systems tropical. That's why they thrive over the warm waters. That's their fuel source, and we have turned that off. So now it's kind of being fueled by cold fronts and other things, and usually when that happens, the wind field gets bigger. We described that to you for the last couple of days during our coverage, and that's why we still have kind of a breezy pattern going on. And this is going to lift on through, and folks are still, of course, naturally very worried, nervous, concerned that there's going to be something else that we're going to be dealing with here. This is the American GFS model, and this is for the next week. So over the next week, we're going to stay quieter through the tropics, big ridge of high pressure up here to the north. But I will tell you that we're not finished yet, okay? We could easily see more storms develop, especially here across this hot spot we've seen lately in the western Caribbean. This is where we have developed Helene and now Milton, and continuing to keep an eye on this. Not the week coming up, but the following week, we may have something else try to develop down there. But I've seen lots of clickbait, lots of crazy posts about Nadine, and it's coming to Florida, following Helene's path and all of that. Just don't listen to any of that. I'll let you know. We'll let you know here in Severe Weather Center 9 what is cooking out there. Right now, nothing else for the moment. So the rainfall, very heavy, as we talked about. We had that rain map that showed north of the track, 12, 14 inches of rain, and that is pretty much spot on here at Apopka, not far from the Terry House. Over 15 inches of rainfall. We have retention ponds in our subdivision that I have never seen filled in 25 years of living there, and they were filled after this storm. And so that was their purpose, to go through that. But right now, the St. Johns River levels are all going to be, this purple means we're at major flood. It's already major flood in Astor. It is moderate flood in DeLand, and we're getting there for Sanford and Lake Harney. And unfortunately, all the rivers are going to keep rising. All of these will be purple as we head toward the weekend. So it's going to be a long, several-week process to bring the St. Johns River down. If you're new to Florida, this river takes forever to recede. Right now, we are unseasonably cool, 72, and that may feel great tonight without having any air conditioning if you don't have power. But we're going to get back in the upper 50s and low 60s tonight up in Marion County. Unseasonably cool weather, but this is, of course, October when we can start getting the first fronts of the season. This time, the front was kind of forced through the area by a major hurricane landfall. Altamont Springs, a nice day overall tomorrow. Still a couple of showers here and there, but generally a pretty good looking afternoon. And here you see early warning future tracks through Friday into the start of the weekend on Saturday. Mostly fair skies, and again, a passing sprinkle notwithstanding, it still looks pretty nice. And where we will likely see a passing shower tomorrow is along the coast in Palm Bay, and maybe a sprinkle on Sunday. But we're going to have some time to dry things back out. Here is your 7-day forecast. The weekend always in view, about 83, and then warming up a bit more toward a more normal mid to upper 80-degree pattern next week. And again, as I said, nothing else really in the works except another cold front. And this one could actually bring the coolest weather of the season by far to Central Florida the middle part of next week. Martha?
All right, Tom,
Awesome.
Thanks so much. Well, Disney World plans to reopen tomorrow.
And that includes its theme parks as well as Disney Springs. And we have seen some posts, and Tom called the post about Nadine coming on social media Boulder Dash. It's not happening. Well, here is more of that. I can't show you the pictures. Maybe you've seen them because we don't have the rights to show this fake post, but there is a post that has gone completely viral today saying Disney is underwater, it has flooded, and basically saying that there is a new river cruise and it's right down Main Street. Those are fake. The place is in perfect condition. I'm certain there's not even a leaf out of place.
You and I just looked at the picture. The people have nothing better to do than to do this, put it on there,
It's
AI, and it's wrong, and Disney is not flooded, so
yeah.
It's not. And Universal also plans to reopen its parks and City Walk tomorrow. That also means the return of Halloween Horror Night. So many people love to go to that. SeaWorld plans to reopen its main park as well as Aquatica and Disney Cove tomorrow. However, Spooktacular and Hallow Scream are canceled for tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, if you're on social media, it's cool. If you're on TikTok, you know, just for entertainment, but you have to understand that people need clicks, and that's how they get paid. And the more you do it, and the more you believe it, and the more you comment, the more money they make.
Just because you see it doesn't make it
true. All right. Channel 9 anchor Alex Walker has been looking at some viewer-submitted photos. These are all verified, and he joins us in the studio. Alex.
Yes, verified user-submitted, viewer-submitted videos. It's been tough to keep up with all the videos and pictures in our newsroom. It's a good thing, though. We really appreciate all of our viewers this week for giving their perspective of what happened during Hurricane Milton, the before, the during, and, of course, the after. Let's run through some of the video from today's Hurricane Milton aftermath. This is from Apopka. At 4:30 this morning, a tree fell on this viewer's house. It is a massive tree. You can also see the tree fell on their car. They said they are blessed that nobody was hurt and they still have power, so that's great to hear. But wow, just some significant damage there in Apopka. And this video is staggering. It comes to us from Daytona Beach. Just remarkable flooding in this neighborhood, so much water. They said their homes are inaccessible, clearly, and they need to pump a ton of water out before going back to some sense of normalcy. We can just see how much flooding is there on our coast. And check out this uplifted road from Orange City. Just shows you the sheer power of Hurricane Milton. That entire roadway just upended because of the force of this storm. And look, thanks again to our wonderful viewers for submitting their videos and pictures of Hurricane Milton this week. We do all of this for you. Greg and Martha, back to you.
What was amazing last night is that when you made the call to our viewers, you said, hey, send us what you have. You know, we were putting stuff on TV. I was flooded with video. We've had animal rescues. We've seen an alligator trying to get into a home in Bartow. You've had people asking you, hey, I'm here all alone. My husband died last year. I'm home by myself. I hear the winds. Can you please ask Tom, when's it going to end? Because I'm afraid.
Yeah, we made it an interactive bit of coverage. So again, for all those that messaged me, hopefully, you know, we did a good job for you. And Tom, we're going to look at some video right now as we say goodbye. We're going to look at some of the most powerful moments. And These are from the last 24 hours, and Tom, feel free to chime in as you look at this.
That's in Southeast Florida. I'm curious to see what the damage assessment will say on that particular tornado. That looks like something you would see in the Midwest. That is a big, powerful tornado, and I was just astounded by the number of tornadoes, first of all, and the ferocity of these tornadoes. But it was a prime setup with the very warm air in South Florida, lots of wind shear with Milton approaching, and just a wide open bunch of real estate.
And the stat that you have said, Tom, it was the second.
It was the most active tornado outbreak in Florida history, the biggest one in Florida history, and the second biggest for a single day in the entire U.S. history of tornadoes.
This video that we've shown, again, gives you an example. And as the governor said today, it could have been worse. It wasn't as bad as we hoped, and we're going to take that as a victory. And again, this is all about attitude. Have a great attitude as you clean things up. Look to your neighbor if you need help, and also help out whoever you can.
And we will see you back here, Greg, Tom, and I, tonight live at 10 and 11.
Take care.
So quite a mess out here. One of the neighbors was kind enough to let us use this canoe so we could get in here and survey some of the damage.
I just walked in and found Cocoa Beach Mayor Keith Capizzi. I'm doing all right, but this is your neighborhood.
Yeah, it started right about maybe a couple houses down from mine. We got hit. Obviously, all these guys got hit a lot worse.
I want you to take a look at the damage left behind. I told you that this was the site that actually caught my attention.
Tampa is a mess. There are water rescues, roads flooded, trees down, a lot of structural damage in that area.
Overnight, we had over 50,000 power outages here in Seminole County with reports of trees down.
Every time it rains, it floods here at this intersection. But according to the homeowners I've spoken to this morning, never this bad.
Next Jeopardy! Here's a contestant who knows how to play the long game.
34 years ago, I passed the teen tournament test. Here I am now.
You're the world's oldest Teen Jeopardy champion.
Next Jeopardy!
Brought to you by your Southeast Toyota dealers. This Time and Temperature is sponsored by Morgan & Morgan.